So hello guys, we're back here for another lesson. In the previous lesson, we saw that when we clicked on the post link, we opened a page that contains the content of that post. However, it seems that something is missing here in the content that we are seeing. Is it possible to make it look a little better than this? Of course it is. The first clue that we have here is the template file itself. In this case, as you can see, the template file used is once again index.php. Well, that's the problem. The index.php file cannot be used, say, blindly, randomly inside the WordPress theme. This file, pay close attention to what I'm gonna say, is called by WordPress internally as the main index template file. That's what you see when you go over to the admin, appearance menu, editor. Here on the right you have the index.php file, and it's been indicated as the main index template. We also saw this in the second lesson about page templates. Do you remember that before we created a new template for the home page, we had an option in the drop-down menu that said default template? In WordPress, every time you hear the name default template or default page template, we are talking about the index.php file. So this file has some very specific tasks. I'd say that there are two essential tasks among others. The first one, as I've just shown, is act as a main index template. And what does that mean? It means that every time WordPress doesn't know what content to display on the screen, it will use the index.php file. I don't know if you've noticed, but you can hardly find links that lead you to broken pages in WordPress. That's the reason why. If WordPress cannot find the file responsible for showing some content on the screen, it uses the index.php to fill the gap, so to speak. That's why index.php is one of the required files in a theme, along with style.css. That's what I said in my first video lessons. The second important task of index.php is to serve as the file that displays the list of the latest posts in the blog. That's what we did in our last lesson, by the way. Some big marketplaces like Envato's Theme Forest make that very clear among the recommendations for theme creators. On this page, for example, they say that index.php must be reserved for the standard blog latest post view. Well, all of that is for you to know that we're not going to use index.php for almost anything in our theme. Instead, we must follow a system called the template hierarchy within WordPress. I'll not explain in depth how this hierarchy works, but the Tuts Plus site has a very rich post that helps a lot to understand how it works. I will leave the link in the extra material of this course in case you want to go deeper into the subject. So following the WordPress template hierarchy, we use a file called single.php to show the content of each post. This is one of the most important template files in WordPress. It controls everything you see on a page when you open the link to a single post. So let's go ahead and create this file. Let's copy and change the header documentation. Like every template, the file starts with the header call, and down here let's call the footer get footer. Let's create a div here with the primary ID and the content area class. And inside it, another div with the main ID. This will make the markup of the inner pages similar to the rest of the site. In here, we're going to create a container so that our content is all centered on the page. Then a row In this case, we need the row, okay, because we are going to have more than one column in here. Now, anything we type in here will appear every time we click on a post link. Check it out. Here you can see that the template we're using is not index.php anymore. Now it's single.php, and we have this word. Okay, but that's not what we want. What we need to create here is a loop that brings us the post's content. Let's start by creating a standard loop. This time, no custom loops, right? The only difference here is that we don't need that part that says if have posts. And why? Well, because we are already inside a post. So we don't need to check if there are posts. Do you get it? So you don't need that part that says if have posts. So we start right away with the while portion. While have posts the post. Let's close the while here with end while. In fact, that's the same thing that is happening there in the page.php file. So let's fix the problem there too. Okay, problem solved. Now we need to define what we'll be calling here inside the loop. I mean, if we're going to bring the title, the publication date, the author, it's you as the theme developer who chooses what will be displayed inside the loop. There are many options, so many that I already left a link for you in my first lesson about the loop, showing everything that you can call here inside the loop. To speed up the process a bit, I'm gonna paste here a content that I have prepared ahead of time, and I'll explain what we have in here. Well, we got an article tag. Inside it, we got a header. And here at the end, a div with the content class. Here in the article, I'm using a WordPress function called the ID. It will only show the word post hyphen followed by the ID of each post. This can be very handy when we want to style each post individually. We can get the post ID and use it to make the post look different from the others. Next, we have here the post class function. We have already used this function before. Notice that it's required that you at least call the post class function once in the code. It's a recommendation we find in some marketplaces such as Envato's Theme Forest. Later you'll see why. You can use the same function there in the blog view and also in that loop on the homepage in which we are calling those two posts. Actually, this is the only part of the code you've never seen me using here in the course. The rest are things I've already shown, even in the last lesson. So that's it. Let's save it here. And opening a post link, we have the new single post view. A little different from what we had before. If I click here on the blog link and click on the other post, it's the same view, but the content is different because we are using the same template, which is the single.php. Nice, huh? But there's still one thing missing. What if our visitor wants to comment on our post? How will he or she do that? That's what we'll learn to do in the next lesson. For now, until then, happy coding, guys.